Hi everybody, I'm Tom. This is my workshop. Today we're going to start a new birdhouse. I got them glued together, glued two pickets together here, put his eyebrows and his nose on, and with a start of a mustache. Uh, I'm not exactly sure how I want to go with this guy. What I want, what I have my idea is, you know how a biker looks like when he's going down the road, his beard and mustache are just blowing sideways like this. That's what I want his to do. I want it to come down around the side of it. On the side of the birdhouse, but divide this in half down here. I might end up cutting this down here, but today we're just going to start uh, shaping it, I guess. Let's start working on it. Let's get this out of my face. There we go. All right. I'm going to start maybe with tucking his head back a little bit and doing something with the eyebrows. I gotta stretch my bit out a little bit. I don't like it being so close like that. It'll probably come flying out of there. darker grain is really a lot harder to cut with the Dremel. See what we get a little taper going here. Bring the head back a little bit. Work on those eyebrows. There's a lot of people out there in the world make comments about me gluing my pieces together, but I'm working with a 1/2 inch, a little bit over a 1/2 inch of material, and when I start cutting, you know, that 1/2 inch goes pretty quick. So if I just used one board and tried cutting into that, I'd have holes all through it. That's why I add pieces to my birdhouses. So work on that eyebrow some more. down to. It's starting to take a little bit of shape. We got a long way to go before it even starts looking like anything. But I guess we'll start working on those a little bit here. What I'm going to do, well, you can see this. I'm going to taper it from here on an angle like that. And then I'm going to taper it in like this. Like that on both sides. Then we'll work on the nostrils and flares coming up through here. Let's do that. I have to bring my box out. Okay, now we got a little bit of shape going in his face here. Sometimes these wood seems like it's kind of fuzzy. So see what we did? Tapered his nose in this way, tapered it in both ways here. Now you got to come up there a little bit more. I got a little nick going on there I don't like, so we got a lot of things to do yet. Just keep moving. That's looking like a nice honker on that, huh? Not bad nose. It's getting there. It's fast. It's getting. A lot of work you have to do. And then what I'm going to do is start working on half of this mustache. The darker grain is like really hard compared to the light grain. I mean, when you're carving it, it's trouble. This side looks like it's going to be really hard to do, so that's the side we're going to start. We're going to knock all this off, probably take this end off. Let's do that. Alright. Yeah, that's a lot of sap in this here side. That's called fat wood. If you ever watch the survival shows, this is made out of pine. And that's a sappy, real flammable sawdust. But there's the start. Let's bring this over. See what we got done here tonight. A little bit of a start. Got his forehead tapered back. Worked on his nose a bit. A lot of fuzzies going on. We'll get rid of that as we go. But let me put this back up on me. Okay. Well, you see it's a good start. His eyebrows are gone, nose has started, half the mustache. It'll all start taking shape tomorrow, I'm sure, or the next day, whenever it does. But hey, if you like what I'm doing, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and subscribe to my channel. Okay, thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.